Good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream, and today is October the 24th. I'm going to do your spiritual principle a day in a meditation. I'm brought to you by Hope Through Navigation, and this is our H.O.D Recovery Services. If you need to reach me, feel free to do so at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. Okay, let's go ahead and get into our spiritual principle a day in a meditation. Hopefully you can see that. It's entitled Conscience in Step 10. We need to stay in tune with the voice of our conscience and listen to what it's telling us. When we get a nagging feeling that something isn't quite right, we should pay attention to it. It works. Step 10. Thanks to the NA program, our days of justifying our own bad behavior are mostly behind us. Sure, we still make mistakes, sometimes big ones, but we're quicker to clean up our messes. Instead of doubling down or making excuses when we lash out or self-destruct, we let our missteps remind us that we remain acutely human and in need of regular spiritual maintenance. That's the thing about being in recovery, isn't it? A member shared. I'm aware of myself and the world around me. When I screw up, I can't pretend that everything's hunky-dory, though sometimes I still try. A short memory can seem like an appealing proxy for a clear conscience. It's not. Too often, this leads us to reach for new distractions to help us forget. Fortunately, though it may sometimes seem otherwise, we can't unknow what we know about ourselves. We recognize our part in all of our difficulties and can spot our shortcomings even as they appear in new disguises. Try as we might to shut down and soldier on, we've developed a conscience. Instead of waiting for a 3 o'clock a.m. wake up call from our conscience, step 10 offers us a way to stay clear and current rather. We get into and sometimes get back to the habit of regular reflection, taking the time to stay in tune with the internal gauge of our conscience. We examine our behavior with empathy, asking ourselves, have I treated others as I would like to be treated? We tell ourselves the truth, taking note of when we've responded admirably and where we need to work out a better approach for next time. Cultivating a conscience is a byproduct of this practice, and living a conscious guided life is worth the effort. I will live according to my conscience today, taking time to develop it further as I reflect on my mistakes and enjoy the good that comes from living by my values. This meditation today works perfectly with the meditation for the Just for Today in a meditation. Because in the discussion, I lean more into, even though we're not responsible for our disease and we are responsible for our recovery, we sometimes want to be irresponsible for our recovery because we know that basically there aren't a lot of rules. There's traditions, but there's no rules here, right? So people can come into the meeting, and as long as they're not physically hurting anyone or being disruptive, a lot of times their behaviors can go undetected. They know what they're doing, but others may not be aware that they have a different lifestyle outside of the meeting. So they can come in and flirt and um, do different things that they normally would not do in their home atmosphere because they have people that see them and hold them accountable for who they claim to be out there. But they can come in and live a double life very easily. And so I was talking about how we sometimes believe in our heads that we're getting away with something. But in reality, we know we're still operating out of our character defects and when we're operating out of them. And this meditation, spiritual principle a day, it verifies that, right? It affirms what I've said in the other meditation is that sometimes we want to pretend like we have a short memory, and we don't have a short memory. We have a convenient memory much of the time, but we can't undo the things that we've learned about ourselves. If we've ever done any of the step work, we have learned something about ourselves. And even if we haven't learned why we're always doing what we do know what our patterns are. Even if we have never written a step, we know what brought us to Narcotics Anonymous. So we don't have to pretend here that we're not aware when we're misbehaving or we're acting out or we're causing harm, right? We don't have to wait for a 3 a.m. wake up call like it says here for our conscience. Our step 10, right? It's crazy to me to talk about doing a step 10 with, with it in mind that there are people that have never done even a step 1, not with a sponsor at least, right? So it may not be applicable here, but hopefully you have gotten to the point where you are journaling and paying attention to your behaviors and taking account of them and aware of who you might owe an amends to and able to do it as promptly as possible. It's very important to reflect on our days, and we can do it. We don't have to wait till the next day to do it. We can do it every day. And if you don't get to do it every day, you can still have a pattern of doing it over coffee or something. The first thing in the morning, your tea. Um, you can do it during the time after your morning meditation or your morning workout. There's some time in every day that you can actually fit time in to reflect on your interactions. After every interaction that you have, and you get to a still moment. Did you handle that appointment right? Did you talk to that person in a way that you would want someone to talk to your child or your loved ones? And these are things that we can look at. And this is what it's talking about, our conscience and our step 10. Because we want to, if possible, through step 10, keep our conscience as free and clear as possible. Because that is what allows us to live happy, joyous, and free. And even though we may not want to admit it, it was because we had uneasiness within our conscience. I want to say dis-ease, right? Uneasiness within our conscience that a lot of times caused us or put us in a position where we picked up the drug because we just did not want to face who we were becoming or who we had become or the things that we had done to be able to get our next drug. Many of us abandoned children. Some of us have taken lives. Some of us have taken lives of loved ones, even family members. Some of us, I mean, it just, the list goes on of the horrors of addiction and to the depths that it can take us. And if you're still struggling with it, I just want to tell you, put the shovel down. You can reach your bottom today. You don't have to have this life-changing, debilitating type bottom. You can reach it today by choice and stop digging, because wherever you left off at is exactly where you're going to pick up. And it's going to get worse. It never gets better. But recovery is the same way, right? Once you start to recover, you start adding layers and layers and layers of positivity and positive decision making. Even if you make a mistake here and there, you're going to learn from it because now your brain is trained to take that information and make the adjustments. And so you should find yourself increasing. Yeah, can you be in recovery and find yourself homeless? Absolutely. Can you find yourself in foreclosure? Absolutely. There's a lot of things that can happen still, but your response is going to be different, and it's not going to include picking up. It's very important that we cultivate a conscience. Um, a good conscience. And by doing our step 10 work, we're learning, we're teaching ourselves by practice, by rote, how to do this. And it makes my life, I can talk about how it does for my life. I may offend someone, but if they think that I'm going to avoid them because they're offended by me, 9 times out of 10, that is not going to happen unless I think it's going to end up volatile, right? I'm going to find my way back to you as quickly as possible and go back over that and make the amends that I need to make. And sometimes when you're a person that does that kind of work, people can avoid you because they don't like confrontation. And they rather say that they're not offended because, pridefully speaking, that makes them look better than saying that, yeah, you hurt my feelings. But because of the level of work that I'm trying to do in my life, I may pick that up long before you're willing to admit it. And I'm going to make my way back to you. And I'm going to make the direct amends that I need to make. Right? And you may receive it or you may not. And most of the time, a person that is not willing to admit that they have a problem with something that you did, they're also not going to accept the fact that you attempted to make an amends. They're still going to hold on to that resentment because that suits their purpose. So I just wanted to put that out there. Even though we are doing step 10, it doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to receive it. They may not be spiritually present or able to do that or have the capacity, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't train yourself to work a step 10. It's very beautiful work and it causes one's life to also be carefree. My name is Mighty Stream. I've enjoyed your company today. I hope that you have a beautiful day on purpose. I intend to, and I will be talking to you tomorrow.